Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Parul Soy, Program Manager, Developer Relations Team.
So guys, I hope you've had a great day today. So you must have noticed, so far we focused on some very important topics that will help you build great apps and design amazing experiences. This final session is kind of meant to round things up by focusing on growth. Ultimately, every product manager's goal is to make data-driven decisions. So in this session, I'll be talking to you about Pirate Metrics and how it provides a framework to help you launch your app, build an audience, and sustain it in the long run. So before I get into Pirate Metrics, let's go through a very typical user lifecycle. Users are acquired in many different ways, through social media recommendations, organic, ads, they all play a role. But once you acquire a user, you've only really gotten them to your landing page. This could be the Play Store page, or it could be the homepage of your website. What you really want to do is to make sure that your user experiences the USP of your product. In other words, you want to activate them. For a social media product, it could be to follow interest or friends. For a game, it could be to simply complete one level. You want to ensure that the user experiences your product. But even if you've activated your users, it's almost an uphill battle to retain them and to ensure that the user comes back to your application. The goal for any healthy product is to make sure that you find a strategy that will help users come back and becomes a habit for the users. You also want your users to be your biggest advocates. No acquisition strategy works as well as a simple word-of-mouth campaign. When you get a recommendation from a friend or a family, you're much more likely to try a product through just a web search or an advertisement. And this is a process of referral. And ultimately, you all want to monetize your users. No product speaks success as the one that earns a lot of money. Each of your user is worth a different amount of money, and your goal is to identify who's worth more than the other, and then tailor these products so that you can serve this audience better. So let's summarize this user lifecycle. We have the following 5 stages: acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue. Now take the first letter of each of them, and you get R. And that's the reason why it's called Pirate Metrics. So I would be taking you through each of these strategies, and seldom I would use an example of a translation app. So it's called Really Friendly Chat. The USP of this app is that you can chat and have a conversation with the person on the other side, even if they don't speak the same language. So let's see how we use it, how we improve Pirate Metrics for Really Friendly Chat. The first pillar is acquisition. And here, you want to think about how to acquire the right kind of users. So we decided to come up with 3 strategies. Marketing campaigns. We bought ad space in web search and devised strategies to optimize our spends here. We also built a great website that people can use to discover our app and learn more about it. We also decided to work through partners so that we can amplify the network effect. First is advertising campaign. So for example, if a user searches in Google, traveling to Japan, they'll probably see an advertisement that will click. It will take them to the homepage of the website. And because they've come to this website through an advertisement about Japan, it could be a customized experience telling them how their trip can be made better by installing this application. If they have the app installed, it will immediately launch it. If it does not, then it will take them to the Play Store page of the website from where they can install the application. This uses dynamic links, which makes them so special, in fact, that they maintain context throughout the installation process. So in our case, because someone came in through the advertisement about Japan, they had the customized experience, and even if they did not have the app, it took them to the Play Store page from where they installed and ended up directly chatting with someone in Japan. You can also tie your Firebase Analytics account with your AdWords account to make your acquisition strategy smarter. If for really friendly chat, I'm trying to acquire users from Spain or people who speak Spanish, I can import the event from my Firebase account of people who've chatted in Spanish, and then track my campaign conversions against it to get a sense of whether I'm acquiring the right users or not. You can also create custom audience and show ads to them. This is a great way to retarget users, such as those who've probably not used your application in a while. Maybe they've just forgotten about it or haven't experienced all the new things that you've done in your product. So if, for example, in Really Friendly Chat, we started supporting a new language, we can target the audience of people who tried to chat in that language before but did not have the best experience. So now you've done all this work acquiring the users that they will find through partners, through ads, through searches. But you need to make sure that they install the app and experience it, and this is a process of activation. Most applications that we build have a user-based experience. So a person needs to sign into the app, sign up, log in, and then they experience the product. You want to make this as easy as possible, and for that, we have Firebase authentication. One of the things we've noticed that a lot of users really drop out if your app has a hostile sign-in experience. If I'm experiencing a product for the first time, I might not be comfortable sharing my name, my email address, my phone, all the details. Firebase authentication has been created keeping all this in mind. It allows federated identity from different providers like Facebook, Google, Phoneauth, GitHub. Also, we have anonymous sign-in, so you can go through the security rules in your app without even providing an email address. Another part of activation is that you delight users the moment they get into your application. This could be done by doing various things, for instance, customizing the onboarding experience. One of our star apps, Cookbook, they used remote configuration to optimize the onboarding experience and saw a 207% increase in their user base. Similarly, for our app, if I have users who are coming in from US, they could have a very different experience considering with some cultural imagery in the background. Similarly, if they're coming from India, it could have a different experience. This helps a user connect really well with your product. So now we've acquired users, and we've delighted them with their early experiences. But it's still not enough to keep them. With the amount of competition that is usually there between apps and sites, your app can really get lost in the mix. And so you really need a very strong retention strategy. Firebase Cloud Messaging helps you do that. But notifications are great when used properly, but can become a nuisance when misused. So that's why when notifications are driven off by analytics, you can do things like choosing the right audience, choosing the right time to send the notification. So you might want to send notification to people who, for instance, made purchases in the past but haven't for some time. So you can define it as an audience in your console and then send just a discount code to all these people who had made purchases in the past, because this will get them back into your application, and it serves as a retarget. With these issues, you can really avoid the terrible issue of notification spam. In one of our earlier FCM integrations, Myntra used notifications of FCM to retarget users, and they saw 200% conversion rate increase and 300% open rate increase. So a common problem for apps, particularly in the early days, is that it's not formed as a habit for a user. So even though your app could perform the solution for the problem that the user is looking for, but it's not become a habit, so they still default to Google search. You can use app indexing to help bring back this audience back into your app. This works in two ways. The first is integrating with Google search itself. If you have a lot of content on the web, you can use app indexing so your users will see your app in search results itself. So one of the really popular TV show and movie streaming services that I use, so the other day I wanted to search for this new show that I was really looking forward to watch. I just searched for it in Google, and then this app showed right on top of the results because I had it installed. And when I clicked on it, I could go straight away into the app and play that show. The second strategy is one where you can index content from your app itself. One of the food ordering apps does it really amazingly well. They index the restaurants I order frequently from, so that when I go to Google search and perform the search for it, the app automatically gives me the option to get into it and place an order. So as you all know, friends help friends discover great apps. Like I mentioned earlier, there's nothing that works as well as a really great word of mouth strategy. For instance, if I saw a recipe app and I want to share it with my friend, you want to ensure that there's as low as friction as possible that will help users make it very easy to share applications around. So we have Firebase Invites for this. Firebase Invites is built on top of dynamic links. It does not give you an option of which apps to use to share your application, but instead shows you a list of contacts that you can share the application with. There's a lot of work that is actually being done by Google here using machine learning and AI that provides you the most relevant contacts right on the top of the list on the basis of your past experiences. For example, what are the apps that I have shared in the past with my friend, and the likelihood of that friend installing those apps. Also, what are the apps that that other person has on their phone? And that's why it gets you the most relevant contact right on top. So when it comes to testing our app and handling issues, there are two real strategies. One is getting to know the issues beforehand, and the other after you've shipped your application. And I like to put it under the referral because bad testing on your app could lead to bad reviews, which are in a way referrals from stranger. So you might have noticed a lot of times that you go to the Play Store and you read a one-star review, and you decide not to install the app, which in a way is a bad referral from a stranger. Similarly, when you read the 5-star review and you realize that it's offering a lot of good services, you install the app, which is in a way a good referral from a stranger. So Cloud Test Lab is something that you can use to ensure that you're performing the right test and your application is performing well. It's a collection of virtual devices of all common types, particularly the obscure ones, which you cannot get your hands easily on. If you build your application as an APK and update it to this data center, you will be able to get crash report and stack traces. You can also design custom tests depending on your application and use cases, or you can use your Robotest. Also, very important is to be able to handle crashes after you've shipped the application. And as you all know, we recently acquired Crashlytics, which does not just give you insights into the crashes, but also gives you data, sometimes exactly to the line of code that led to the crash on your application. Another thing is that after you ship an application, you will need to use performance monitoring tool to ensure that your app is behaving in the correct manner. It should not be eating a lot of bandwidth, data, or network issues. When you integrate the performance monitoring SDK into your iOS or Android app, it will automatically provide insights into two most important aspects of app performance. One is startup time, and second is network request. And you can also customize these. Also, this can be actually combined with Crashlytics so that if your app is leading to some crashes, you can ensure that your future versions of the SDK are well optimized. And finally, making money. Firebase makes it a lot easier for you to track all your revenue in one place along with the rest of your data. AdMob is now included in your Firebase SDK, which makes adding banner ads, video ad, interstitials really simple. Since you'll be taking a lot of time off from your users' eyeballs and showing them an ad, the least you can do is make sure that it's relevant to them and it has some contextual relevance. So for example, if you're using an app if I'm using an app for score updates, it's very important that the advertisements I see are related to the sports that for which I've subscribed to the updates. Another powerful element is in-app purchases. No line of code is required at all. So if your app has a lot of in-app purchases, it gets automatically tracked in the Firebase console. So if I have an app which has sticker packs, it'll automatically be tracked in the Firebase console, giving me all that data in one place. So we've designed Firebase to give you a suite of technologies for sustained growth. The idea behind designing Firebase growth technologies is we saw a lot of popular frameworks that growth hackers use, that product managers use, to come up with strategies to help increase the user base of their products. Firebase has been built keeping all these things in mind, and Pirate Metrics is just one of these frameworks that will help you grow your user base of a product and get onto the right and optimized strategy. So you can go through the 5 phases of launching your app and growing it for acquisition through the acquisition technologies, for activation through the activation technologies, and so on and so forth. And all of these are bound by analytics, which is ever evolving and improving. So this will give you a really great strategy for your sustained growth of the product. And with that, I've wrapped up my session in like 18 minutes. And thank you so much for taking out the time for coming there. I know it is a long queue.